and I believe the petitioner is going to be saying something. And I just thought everybody who feels as strongly about this as I do might like to offer this young woman their support. Probably best done through Suzanne, who probably knows her best of all of us. And so go for it tomorrow at the meeting. So.
Thanks, Wendy. Yes, we will. I've certainly met and talked to Tara from the IGO, who's meeting to the Planning Council tomorrow, and we're coordinating what's the truth council. Definitely, we don't have another incident on last Thursday night, a high-speed one, and we see the evidence on the Allendale Road wall. And there's money in the budget that has been suggested for road calming measures. So that, I hope, will tell us what they're going to do on the basis of the report and give us a timeline as to when it will be done. That would be helpful. But considering our wishes to highways about what we'd like to see done, and the 20 mile an hour bank zone has will be turned down, I would like to see something, yes, very definitely set in motion tomorrow as to what's going to be done. Thank you.
Okay, right, so item 2 is apologies for absence.
Councillors Bruce, Ferris, Brennan, O'Farrell and Beatty.
Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. 4, to agree the minutes of the council on the 14th of February. So that is, so this is about accuracy first of all, so page 2, page 3, page 4, 5. Is there any items arising? No? Okay, we should go to item 6. So we would like to invite Castle and Coast Housing Association, who will do us a presentation on a potential affordable housing site in the east of Hexham on the Corbridge Road. So I'll introduce you.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me the time this evening. It's much appreciated. My name is Jo Gooding. I'm a development manager with Castles and Coast Housing Association. I don't know if those of you familiar with Castles and Coast Housing Association. We are a relatively small housing provider. We are 7,000 homes that we manage across the northeast and mainly Cumbria. We do have 2 schemes in Hexham at Amick View, and I always forget the second one, Westfield Close. We are a housing provider with a very strong ethos around place and communities, and we also prioritise the delivery of affordable rented home that is steered by the board. So we don't do, whilst we do mixed tenure, because we recognise there is a place for that. In most housing developments, most of our developments are affordable rent. So I just thought I'd give you a very, very brief introduction. You may know of us from previously 2017. It was a merger of 2 castles and Dowen and Soloway Housing Association. So that might be more familiar to some members around the table. I wanted to come this evening to talk to you. This is the first recent, I know there's history around this site and engagement, but first recent of stakeholder engagement, because we intend to progress development of the site on Corbridge Road. Sorry?
We should have this application.
It's not a planning application as such at the moment. There's no live planning application for quite some time.
I think we'll be okay.
I just want to know okay.
Yeah, no, that's a fair chance.
Apologies.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, please. Yeah.
So not going to expend time listing the planning status or talking you through the housing need. I know you'll be very familiar with affordable housing need in the town. I will come on to that though shortly. as that will have changed. The site, as you are familiar, is adjacent to their Ainic View, which is a castles and coasts community of affordable rented homes, and it is in the green belt. So again, I'm familiar with all the planning status and both of the emerging local plan, which is about to be adopted, and the neighbourhood plan. The proposed development that we are looking at is quite an innovative, independent living for older persons. We have been spending some time thinking about their housing need, and I'll come back to this in Hexham, and what could be best provided. And given the range and scope of housing need, arguably we could do general needs, we could do older persons, and there's not an either or situation to housing need. If every site available in Hexham was all to come forward for affordable housing, would still have need for affordable housing in Hexham, as you know better than I. When I say a innovative, independent living scheme, we are not proposing an apartment block. It's not what Castles and Coasts aspirations are for over 55s. It's largely 2-bedroomed homes, bungalows, dormer bungalows, and it's a small community which would also be serviced by both a very small community hub and a sort of a care package that would support living independently for as long as you need. So it's a very different take on what we're used to seeing in terms of extra care, and it's responding, I suppose, to encouraging people to move and to create home earlier when we're all healthy and fit and able, rather than when needs must, which will help to build sort of social capital, but also reduce the burden on local NHS and other care services, and critically reduce loneliness. And we also recognise there's potentially strong economic and social benefits beyond that to the town, as Living Streets and other research companies have shown that older people tend to use local services and spend their money in local shops. So the program we have been working on the site. We have done lots of different site surveys, including ecology and archaeology and so forth. And in terms of what's next, and this is why I guess I thought it'd be useful to come and talk to you this evening. We are going. I know there has been recent housing needs surveys, but we are going to do a town-wide housing needs survey to find an updated position. We suspect, as like most areas that we bring forward new homes, that the position will have worsened considerably over the last 12 months, with the escalation in house prices and also the pressures in the private rental accommodation sector, where in the northeast alone we've seen price rises of 10% and a lot of vulnerability in the private rented sector. And we have commissioned ARC4, whom you may be familiar with. I don't know if they did the neighbourhood plan housing survey, but they definitely worked on the local plan. And we will also be updating what we call an alternative site assessment, as obviously we recognise we need to understand what other sites are available in the town and their viability. We'll be doing the housing needs survey. I'm always amazed it's already middle of March. I think it will be live in June, but I can keep updated on that. And there will be community engagement around the housing needs survey as we take that forward. The housing needs survey will follow a standard methodology, but we will seek to uncover or understand in a little bit more detail the housing needs of the over 55s in Hexham as well. But it will be a standard methodology. I'm working towards a full application sometime later this year, so much further down the year, and a lot of community engagement discussion prior to that. I'm happy to take any questions. I wanted to keep it sort of at that kind of level this evening, but happy to share information as whatever where your sort of lines of inquiry are,
Thank you.
if you have any.
So I think the point raised by Trevor was a fair one in that the self, Trevor and Suzanne are all part of the Tynedale Local Area Planning Committee. And therefore, we can hear, the generalities of what this is, but if I got into specifics of the actual plan application, we would have to be withdraw from that. So just say to us as the three county councillors, I'll just say let's listen and not say anything on this one, and we'll leave it to other councillors to actually ask questions, and we just listen. That's good. So I'm Mike, and I will Stephen.
Thanks for that. Yeah, so we're fully supportive of any affordable housing into Hexham, because I think from some of the numbers that John's given, I think we're certainly sort of behind where we could be. So just a couple of questions just occurred to me. So just interested in terms of how you, because I'm interested in running a couple of surveys, just wondering what the approach is for sort of how you're going to actually do the survey. And then the second question would be, and I don't know if you're going to be able to do that because of GDPR, will you be able to share some or any or none of the information you collect?
Okay. So the survey itself, the approach to housing needs surveys has changed slightly because of the pandemic, but it will follow quite a traditional route in the main, in the sense that we will let the wider community know through various forums that the housing needs survey is going to take place. We, in that sort of press release or social media now, we will, we'll say what we're looking for. We're looking to find out the unmet housing needs in the local community. We won't be identifying anybody by personal data. You can give anonymously. We very vaguely describe the scheme. So, the form itself, as you'll be familiar with, takes you through circumstances, age, housing need, why you've got that need or why you think you've got that need, are you registered, and so forth. And it just sort of tries to eke out the sort of household circumstances. Some people are obviously very aware through their personal situation they have a acute housing need, and others may not be, and others will be flagging it up on behalf of others. So it's a sort of survey format. We also do that so as well as that survey being posted out to residents, there is also the facility for those that, and that can be posted out physically. You can do it online, which is now preferred route. And for those that can neither fill in a paper base or do it online, there's a telephone number, so that if they still really want to have their needs registered, somebody will take them through the housing need on the telephone. So we hope we've got most of the bases covered, but we appreciate, we may not. And obviously materials could be provided in alternative formats for those with reading or other. Does that answer the question?
The only other was, I think, did you say it's anonymous? You can take anonymous entries.
In terms of sharing the data, we wouldn't be able to share on any detailed level, a micro level, but we would be able to share the sort of the overarching findings of the survey. We'd be happy to do that, an updated position. Yeah.
Stephen.
Two questions, if I may. One born out of ignorance, really. Just how is your housing association funded? I've seen other housing associations, and there's a different model for everyone. Your particular one may be different conceptually to the one I have in my head. So that's an interesting question for me. It's more about information than anything else.
Yeah.
And one of the things about affordable housing is that everybody associates affordable housing with older people. There is as big a demand for affordable housing for young people just setting off in life. And I don't want Hexham just to be regarded as a retirement place for old people, and whether that was a consideration in your thoughts of projects such as this one, and perhaps those in the future as well?
So Castles and Coasts Housing Association is funded through a variety of income sources. New developments are part funded by borrowing, loans and debt, as well as either cross subsidy, which, as I said before, we don't do a lot of open market sale, but sometimes there is a little bit of cross subsidy. But in the main, it's debt, what's called affordable housing programme funding from the government, which is provided through Homes England, and of course, critically, the rental income of existing tenants, which is both recycled into maintaining the home they and others live in, the management, but also a proportion of that will finance new homes as well. So this, I guess, there's three main sources of income. In terms of older people, yes, very much aware of that. And anyway, as somebody who's approaching 50, I'm kind of not into the term over 55, but what was I going to say? Most of our developments are general needs. We do not do a lot of older persons because until recently, a lot of older persons housing has been very large apartment blocks, which is not something we do. We do develop most of our homes in market towns or rural areas. We do have homes in Tyne and Wear. We think that we have a different take on what older persons housing should look like in the areas that we serve. I think it should be smaller developments, and recognise that through research that people want their own front door. But most of our developments are general needs and a very mixed age within that. The scheme that I've just finishing up this month, my most recent scheme is a scheme in Blythe. Adlam Court. It's a mixture of two-bed bungalows and 2- and 3-bedroomed houses. So it's a scheme of all age ranges, and that's all affordable rent. In Hexham, as I say, looking at this site and need. At the moment, we are pursuing an over 55s and a different take on that. We do think the site is very suitable. Haven't ruled out general needs. I mean, you could develop any type of affordable housing, any tenure in Hexham, and the need is off the scale. But at the moment, that's where we think we could deliver something quite special for the site.
So, just so I understand it, the scheme that you're proposing, without going into the details of it, is it all for people who are over 55? Or will it be that mix, which I would prefer, of older people living alongside younger people, so to speak, and having a proper community, so it doesn't become, every time you see an ambulance go down there, it's an issue. I think you're better off having that mix of ages and perhaps even social class of people rather than effectively becoming a big old age pensioners estate. If
we deliver the scheme that we're currently proposing and designing, then whether or not it is age specific in terms of allocation, that's something I probably wouldn't comment on today, but it certainly will be designed around the needs of the over 55s. So two important features of that, I suppose, is the homes are fully adaptable, cheap to run, and in terms of adaptation, not necessarily having those features in from place, but we are looking at delivering homes that would look like any other type of home to face value from the front door. And also in doing that, encouraging people to make more active choices about when to downsize, and recognising that over 55s have children that won't leave them alone, and grandchildren, and are working, and have got quite a number of years of work left. So we're not developing homes or a community where there is a high dependency around care. That's not what we think. That's not the intention of this development. So it might not be age specific, but it certainly be designed for the over 55s to age in place.
Okay. How many properties are you proposing?
Okay, so the site in theory could have capacity for about 80 homes. 80. I think the current proposals have about 65 homes, and that's a mixture of a very small number of one-bedroomed apartments, because we have found that, and when we say small, I mean 4, because we've found that the one-bedroomed apartments that we have on Ainuck View are exceptionally popular to meet a small cohort of housing need, but most of them are two-bedroomed, say homes or dormer bungalows.
Will they have, will they sort of like read credentials to them, you know, in terms of like, you know, insulation, heating?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
So they will be, where they'll be in terms of zero carbon, but we have as an association, we have a cost in use kind of priority. So what we mean by that is there's lots of ways that we could make a development sustainable and ecological, but our concern as a housing association is to reduce fuel and energy bills, and also to, you know, and also recognising that homes can actually overheat in the summer now. So we're looking, we take what's a fabric first approach to homes. There'll also be green credentials in terms of the landscaping and the way that we will approach that as well. So from both sides, there will be, yes.
And is there no chance of the development being built on non-redeveloped land?
It's not, you know, it's not, when we have looked extensively in previous years at alternative sites, we don't consider the majority of brownfield sites to be viable, certainly not for our development. Obviously there is the middle school site which the county council control, and are looking at bringing forward affordable or market housing there. But we will always assess any of the brownfield sites, but all of our assessments so far have shown them not to be viable for affordable housing purposes. Marginal for commercial, for open market, but not for affordable housing.
Well, thank you, Jo. That's been
Thank you.
really interesting. Keeping it so high level, and having an interest in Hexham, if a planning applications with it, interesting guys.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
So we were anticipating,
Thank you very much, everyone.
We were expecting Matt Baker. I was actually just texting, just messaging him just to see if he was around. So we'll ask him again this time. We'll do some work on climate change. So that's unfortunate. So item 7 is scratched, and hopefully that may come back meeting in the future. So that's unfortunate. Right, number 8. So pretty busy month. So I was last Saturday. I was at the link for Tony Price's Cycling Minds which launched, which is he's doing a series of pop-up events for repairing bicycles and talking to people who are interested in bicycles. So the first one was at Priestlands, and we had about 20 people actually turned up. I had the pleasure of being the first customer and having my bike that was going to be had a punch up of many months repaired, so it was very kind of Zoe to have my bike at last. But he's quite an interesting chap, this Toby. I know he's been here before. He's got another, he had another event last Saturday, and he's got another one coming up this Saturday down in Tyne Green. really interesting. I thought it was great to see the kids take up as well, you know, and talk about bikes and getting their bikes maintained and things. So that was really good. So, I've got high hopes of Toby. He is going to get a new premise on Off Lane. I just think there's a huge demand out there for cycle maintenance and probably the purchase of bicycles. I think we've got hope. He's going to go from strength to strength and fill that gap for Hexham. We had our market stall on Saturday gone, so several councillors who turned up for that. Again, really interesting, you know, let's talk to the public. You know, receiving all sorts of different items of interest, you know, really from the national items and international items. Obviously, Ukraine was being mentioned quite a lot, because obviously all the concerns around that and the potential refugee situation, and to the more general things such as speeding, toilets, you know, what we're doing for in the summer for celebrating the Jubilee, etc. So quite a lot of items, so we capture all of those and they all go into our rich pot, and that helps form the agenda of where we take this council. Myself and Suzanne had a visit to Mega, and the clock, and we had a tour of the actual processing, which was absolutely amazing. I was absolutely blown away from what you saw, how much industry goes on there, incredibly automated, and you know the workforce seemed to be there to maintain the machinery which allows the product to be built, which is just an astonishing feat of engineering. And actually watching the inputs coming in, such as the trees coming in on the back of lorries and those being tested and sold, the chainsaw being tested to see how wet they are. So quite an interesting feature actually, watching the inputs, processing and the outputs. We also had a good meeting with them. We plan to have routine meetings going forward. So we talked everything about their future, about their workforce, about the apprenticeships that they offer, which are far and wide. Mega is an international company, so it provides lots of opportunities for their workforce. They're a family-oriented organisation run by the family, and I think they like to treat their workers as part of that greater family, so they like people to join and stay with them for a long part of their career. They've got plants in many parts of the world, including Russia and the Ukraine, so obviously they've got some issues with those plants due to international affairs. Very, very interesting to talk far and wide about anything from green issues to dark skies and all sorts of things that have been mentioned in this town council, and also just how we can conduct our relationship going forward. Everything from having a Christmas tree switch on, which is also a wonderful thing, because it hasn't been always that we'll have the Egger tree. We never used to have the Egger tree, and obviously the Egger tree has become part of the heritage and the custom of the town. So that's really good. So we'll speak to them again in a few months' time. I had a meeting with the Heritage. I was given an update by Karen Thompson on the Heritage Action Zone, and where they're going with that. So really fascinating is the ambitions of that. Very conscious about the time constraints, about how much money, the money that has to be spent within a time frame. So very conscious about all of that. I can't say too much because a lot of it is sensitive and it will be communicated out by those in charge of that. But there will be something coming out very, very soon where there will be a public consultation on what that public realm is going to be. It's the piece of Arsenal was quite exciting, to be honest. I was really impressed with that, so that's good. I've had a meeting with Claire, project officer, and myself, who met with them, the Hexham Community Partnership, Jez, and Kate from the Hexham Queen's Hall, where we discussed what the summer events. Obviously, there's many this year. There being Jubilee, come the 1900 years of Hadrian's Wall, plus for us, as the big thing for us is the section is the 800 years of the market, which is just an astonishing thing. So we'll have a few things to remember. So just pulling some ideas together, just to get some thoughts together, and then we'll bring all the council together and go right how we want to do this. But we really want to make a big celebration of the market for 800 years. That's an astonishing that's been years into the years, all the history that's gone on there. And finally, obviously, Ukraine has been, everybody's thoughts just over the last few months, and who we're expected to get to where it is now. I have spoken with a number of councillors, as a way of like, how do we offer support as a town? And, Trevor's mentioned he's doing something at the Warrior collection. Was that right? That happened.
I did offer the Warrior as a collection fund, and at the same time that I mentioned this, and involved both county councillors, because it was a cross-party thing. Lots of other services and next came up and offered their support and help, which is good. And in both sides, I always find the community do come on board, and Hexham's never been any slow coming forward, and so that was fantastic. I'm also at the Council for Hexham, and I did start Hexham off with the same idea. And we came, lots of people came forward, and we took a bus full of stuff down in the collection fund. I'm going to say it's that Thursday, when I did it here. And some more that we've got that we store for the next time. So if anyone around the district has been excellent, that would be fantastic.
Good, thank you. So certainly, I mean, I know us as individuals and many people at Hexham have brought like loads of bags of stuff. I mean, I put mine to the grapes, they've just been snowed under with the amount of clothing and support that I've had, and there's been the community church that's done the same, the Timely Golf Club's done similar, the fire service are also doing the collection of clothing, etc. And obviously there's so many, everywhere you went there's money collection for the Ukraine, so we are doing our bit. I think the next phase is really going to see is us as a nation, as a county, as a town, is what we do with those huge amount of refugees. I've just seen the numbers are just staggering as you watch the news each night. The amount of government Poland and all the other neighbouring countries is just enormous. And it's I think the next phase is going to be like how we as a country put that infrastructure in and support those. And, you hear I think something that they are going to try and support people. So as I emailed everybody yesterday, as a way of support, and it's only a way of just solidarity with the nation of the Ukraine and its outrageous invasion of its territories. I was just wondering if we, all as councillors, would just like to get into a photograph with this flag and show our support for the Ukraine, and then we'll fly this flag at the cemetery in solidarity with that nation. Would everybody be in favour of that?
Yeah.
Right, let's get photographs as a team.
goes to the back. I'm going to sneak in.
Move forward.
Small ones to the front.
Yes.
So,
Just slightly, yeah.
It was you.
Right, and I'll get in all of your best slides. Right, I've got staples, and there must be one there on one.
We look like different ones.
if there was an embassy, all right. I'm going to say it with your eye.
I'll see it.
Yeah. Some nonsense.
Yes.
Derek, with the picture, could we put something on the website to indicate where people could take their donations? I think the other thing that read was also that we also asking for people to donate cash, which people are doing. And I think maybe then consider any government information about if you want interested in hosting, click on this link and go read it as much as we can.
Yeah, certainly we'll come back.
Yeah, just to say this, I'm amazed how the young people can go. So the scouts have been taking bandages and first aid supplies. They took them to the fire station before it closed. But the guards are doing something in St Aidan's Church at 7 o'clock, and they're on 2 specific items for teenagers. So I just want to note that now, because it's just come up, and they're going to take the bus over there as well.
Excellent. So I do appreciate that, everybody. This is I know it's just operating much of the news and putting everything. I just think any little thing we can do is do this with them. I think it's just to help. And you know, let's see where we go from there. And finally, the final item was I was at a high sheriff, Joanna Bell, who lives near Stanford, and she had an invite to many civic dignitaries, which included me as well. And we had a very good evening, just a way of good networking, to be honest. There was more cheese than you could shake a stick at. Some very impressive cheese. You know, tells me or to me. Some really big gongs. Anyway, I brought this book, which I smuggled, which is Cheeseburn Grange, which is where the event was, which is the farm home, and we've got that for the town council. So got plenty of pictures in there, so it's pretty easy reading, not good, but it's quite an interesting read. I'll leave that with Jane if anybody wants to flick through it. And I also got my hands on the farm silver as well. Good. Right. Our next item is to agree the accounts for payment. So page 7. Anything, just let me know if anybody wants to challenge or ask a question.
The floodlights again. Repairs to the every floodlight. I was under the impression that we paid for the cost of the floodlight in terms of electricity, but I wasn't aware that we still continue to pay for the sort of capital expenditure on that.
Yeah, the town council traditionally has also paid for an annual survey and any outages. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So page 8, any questions on page 8? And then page 9. Right. Next is item 10, which is to note progress on the action plan. This covers several pages here, so I'll go through each page. Please stop if you wish to highlight anything. So page 10, or is anybody going to highlight any of this? So page 10, page 11, page 12, and page 13. And then on the page, John.
Thanks, Jeff. Just a small thing really, and that is just for clarity. It says that we're working with Hexham Sturstanacher to review the cemetery management plan. And as it's been pointed out to me by Jeff, it's not actually the cemetery management plan that we'd be reviewing, it's a cemetery biodiversity plan. The cemetery management plan is a huge term, which I wouldn't want to get involved with particularly.
Yeah, good point. Yes, that was brought by Jane. Page 13, page 14. Yes, please do so.
Just about town crier development. I'll just give you an update. There's been some activity. Claire and I went to see that the Beaumont have kindly offered to put up the development free of charge on April the 8th. I've agreed to take them out for lunch, take them out for dinner on the evening time. He doesn't want pay as such for his activities, but he has asked for his travelling expenses to be reimbursed. He does live in Hereford. The cost of that will be about £220. It's about 500 pounds, I think. I did ring Lee up before I agreed anything from the just to give a broader perspective than me just plowing ahead. So we're all lined up. I spoke to the grant this morning, and Claire and I met with the grant, did a feature on it. He'll come up and do a stint of town crying, and they will try to introduce the 800 years of the marketplace, which is Claire's idea, as part of being a town crier, which is a great idea, and we will audition people, hopefully. As a worst case scenario, we've publicised the 800 years of the marketplace, and we've seen what a town crier does. Hopefully at the end of the auditions, there'll be enough people, hopefully through Facebook and websites and the grant, that we make them away with 2 potential town criers. We've asked the grant to be one of the judges. We've asked, well, we haven't asked you yet, Mr. Manning, that you to be the judge as well. Not used to. I tell you that. I heard rumours of you being the micro but I'll be a judge and the actual town crier itself. So it should be at the fun day. It's been a long time coming, but it's there and it's happening, which is great.
Well, that's good. Any questions on that? Good. All right, page 15. Page 16. Page 17. Page 18. Page 19. And there we go. Right. Okay, thank you for that. Right, so we now move on to item 11, which is Trevor's a motion to purchase. Motion for that.
I'm going to take part in this ceremony. 2040 to award 3 RHA, 3 Royal Horse Artillery, the freedom of the Cumberland. At the time was there in there. There's also looking to strike a very strong friendship with the residents' Padre. I'm sure somebody met before, Chris Gruber. And I still get to meet him sometimes because he does a lot of work for the county council as well. So he's now moved into civil life by his own church in Ashton. During my time as mayor, following that, I also got good relationships with the commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Richard Clements, and also his successor, Chris Gent. No one spoke so fondly of Hexham. Chris has moved away, but he often said he would relocate back here when he retired. And when he said that for my years, but it seemed quite genuine. I've been involved with the Rock Club in Hexham on and off for about 50 years now. More lately, I'm the treasurer of the club and the branch. Previously, in my younger days, I was affiliated in the RAF, been a member of the Royal Observer Corps for 10 years. My father was in the RAF during World War II, as was my uncle Richard. My uncle Jim was in the army and was evacuated from Dunkirk. My nephew was just come out of the RAF now, after having served 12 years. There are many other family connections I could go on to. The point being, as indeed there are for many of the residents within our town. And that is why our residents have always had a strong bond with the armed services. Turning up in their droves for the Remembrance Day service as well as, and the Armed Forces Day, which used to hold every 2 years. Obviously, it's been one of the last few years. There is a monthly breakfast club which meets at the county hotel for those who used to be in the services once a month. And I think I had a meeting yesterday morning when they were in. I believe it's well attended. In Hexham, we also have a flying group of air cadets and army cadets. And of course, not forgetting the links with the 5th Royal Regiment in the Dale Wilson battalions. Yeah, I get it right in a minute. The Dale Wilson Barracks, which a lot of people will know as the drill hall. It was renamed a few years ago. I had a pleasure going there. I met Dale Wilson, lovely chap, the 100 odd. Unfortunately, he didn't last a great deal longer, but I thought he was a pretty interesting chap he was. And I believe there's links with 204 Hexham Troop Battery 101 Regiment and the Royal Artillery. People here joining the forces to learn a trade, some do. They're also there to help in times of need, like in recent years with the floods, the high winds, or assist the search parties for missing people. Something we don't have to hear about, but does happen. However, logically, there's always a possibility that they may be called into action one day. At risk, of course, to their own personal safety. Task they do without a backward step. Many, unfortunately, as I'm sure some of you are aware, they suffer mental health issues as a result of their service. The most common one that most people know about, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm sure there's other I know there's other issues. I think we've actually talked about this on the own before. To support our troops is not to be an advocate of war, and I'm not making that quite clearly, but it is to show our appreciation for what they do in this service and protection of all of us. We should be able to parade through the streets of Northumberland and see and hear support and heartfelt thanks that the residents of our towns want to bestow on them. When we've had parades before, I've chatted to the soldiers and also with the rank and file. And we used to love coming to Hexham because they were always so well supported. They didn't get that everywhere. I'm not saying they didn't get it anywhere, they just didn't get it everywhere. But Hexham was always strong in that. So that is why tonight I want to request that my proposal is given full support from the members of the Hexham Town Council. My proposal is, the Councillor Torres will acknowledge the formal request from 3 RHA, 3 Royal Horse Artillery Regiment, and Albemarle Barracks to exercise their rights to march through Hexham on either the 15th to 16th of July this year, 2022. This will be a huge event with over 200 personnel, military vehicles and guns, etc., before an official ceremony. 3 Royal Horse Artillery were given this right after being granted the freedom of Northumberland, the highest honour the county could have bestowed upon them. In a parade that serves at Hexham on Saturday, the 12th of November 2014. Hexham residents have long had a tradition of supporting our armed services, and I would like to propose that Hexham Town Council show their full support for this request.
So, you have a second, do you want to say anything? Okay, any debate? Okay, no debate, okay. We'll go straight to votes. All in favour? All in favour? Right, okay. Thank you, so that's passed. All right, item 12, Stephen, your motion.
It's an unusual one, is this, because when you have never been a great supporter of Sunderland Lake, that's supposed to be done around the town. But there is an opportunity through Hazaz for us to be complementary to what they do. In fact, as was pointed out, in the early days, we were a stakeholder within the Hazaz bid. I think we contributed some £20,000 at the time. I look down Battle Hill, and there's some great examples. I know, Mr. Mayor, you've frequented Victorian Taps, which has utilised some of the money. But some of the other buildings are an absolute disgrace. And I thought to myself, what would it take? You know, is it because there's not enough money there? You're not connected with Hexham Community Centre. We've got that manky old wall as you're going up Giles Gate. How much would that cost to plaster and paint? £2,300. We're going to do it. We've got a better man hit this to do. We're not part of Hazard or whatever. So I just want to make sure, as a stakeholder in Hazard, that some of these landlords don't use the excuse, we didn't know anything about it. We were aware of, if only we'd have known. So this proposal is ambiguous in a sense. We want to promote the fact that there is money for these buildings to be done up for the good of Hexham, and in truth for the good of the landlord as well. But we want people to be attracted to use businesses and to use homes where grants are available. And I think it should be noted and should go out on our literature, on our websites, and any forum that we can use, that we're supporting Hazard with the work that they do, promoting that such buildings get the support, government support, and that we don't want landlords in the future to use the excuse we didn't know anything about it. And I think we're putting a marker in the sand. Jane tells me that Hazard ends in March, is it, 2024. There's plenty of time to still get your grants in. Do it. Do it for yourself, but more importantly, do it for the town of Hexham and your contribution towards it. It's a fairly simple proposal. I would hope it would be supported by everybody in the town council, and then we can go about it and promote it. And we're saying, we're for Hexham, we're for Hexham Town Centre and making it better. I'm pointing the finger at you, make sure that you do your part as well.
Have a second then?
Yes,
Okay, so Susanna seconded. Right, so we go to debate. Does anybody want to say anything? Right?
Strangely, against you, I'm fully supportive of what you're saying. I'm just wondering with, and I think you did right, sometimes people just don't know what grants are out there and contacting the landlords. Is that the responsibility of Hazard? I'm just thinking, could the council write to the parties, could we ring these particular contacts up? Because I've said, people, until you change people, either we've got letters, get thrown away. if we ring them and they know that we've done everything, is that possible? Is it all going to be down to Hexham?
As far as I'm aware, the Hexham team contacted everyone in that row, and where there were problems contacting the landlords, the legal teams were involved in tracing them down, and they did get in touch with that. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like 95% of the people involved wanted the grant, actively wanted the grant. So it hasn't been promoted as such. I completely agree. It maybe needs to be louder in time for everyone to get it, but certainly it's working its way down the road successfully, and it's being. Councillor Cespedes on the board, Councillor Gwen was on the board. We've all asked questions about the landlords and how much money they're getting from SARS in addition to what they're putting in. So we've been asking all the right questions, but I do agree it needs to be, thrown back to businesses, and certainly the town council to support, which is what the meeting was about the other day, to get the town council on board with actively promoting the grants to the street. In fact, we've been asked to contribute, I think, some innovative street furniture ideas going forward that they can put in for us. We'll raise funding for things like solar water feeders, possibly repair stations, things like that. Maybe a statue or two, I don't know, but they're certainly coming back to us because they want to work closely with the town council on that one, and they're doing a public consult on the public realm very soon.
That's something like I would encourage it as well. What I'm trying to say is we want to encourage everybody to take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, we're watching you. And if you don't do it, and your building's not to scratch in 4 years' time, we'll get the enforcement officers onto you to make sure you do it. It costs you money. And I think sometimes a very straight, honest, and clear response is what's needed. And I don't want, and I've seen it done in other examples, in years to come, somebody says, well, I didn't really know how to go about it, and using all sorts of complicated excuses. This town council has a clear message which says, whether we do it through the county council in addition to, get on with it and get on with it now.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll come in. I think this is an excellent proposal. Thank you, Stephen. As being said, I think a lot of the activities being done, probably behind the scenes between, directly between the heritage attraction zones, support the county council, town council, and other bodies, directly to landlords, and those conversations are going on. Probably, it hasn't been as overt as it could be, so the public can see what's going on as well. But I absolutely endorse this. I think this is. I'm pretty torn on this, on the basis that this is public money being given to landlords to say, do your property up, because you have that tension between those who actually done a very good job of looking after their own properties. So you have that tension, most definitely. However, if you want your town to look good, you can't just accept that having buildings that are decaying and just constantly decay, it just brings everybody down. So absolutely agree with this. The heritage action zone is fairly generous in that it will provide, as I understand, around 70% of the zones required to improve a building. So it's a substantial and generous scheme. There are things attached to it, sort of control, so you can't get it, you can't have your building done up with 70% of public money and then sell it the next day. There are time controls and other controls over it, so that is the good thing. So, but you're absolutely right. I think the more we can shout as loud as possible, this consultation that is happening very soon. I think was it April I mentioned?
Yes, they wanted to do it as soon as possible after Easter.
Yeah, so I think in the April time, Easter time, is that's going to be this public consultation, and that again, I think this is going to be the first time where the public actually get their hands dirty and have an opinion on what the public realm will look like, which is basically all the pavements, the street furniture, the lighting, etc. And that I think that will start to generate, as we move from what's probably been the planning stage, actually now into something more physical and constructional, and then as you go, the right choices, and then in the building. So that's a good thing. So yeah, absolutely support this. Let's be loud and proud about this and maybe try and push it. Mike.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I was just going to say, and we talked to a few residents this week, and this popped up, so it'd be good if we could put something on our Facebook page and website, just to put out all the background, because people don't know what's going on, and it would be useful for people. I'm not saying you don't do it, I'm just saying it came up, and people was always like, I'm thinking, well, all I need to know is stuff is going on, so we just need to put
I mean,
something out there.
coming back to us very soon, the date that they want to put a consult out, so that would be helpful. And we've sort of thought about also tying it into the market stall to sort of shift people at the road to Queen's Hall, so that we bang our drum there and move them on to see it. That would be, you know, joint of thinking really, but yeah, definitely.
Just quickly, when does this scheme end?
It was originally a 4-year scheme and then delayed because of COVID, it became a 3.5-year scheme. I think it's 2024 when it ends.
So does the money have to be committed by that point, or does the money have to be spent by that point?
I don't know.
I think that's not a key question.
So certainly that was one of the questions when I was speaking Karen was like, you know, don't spare the horses on this. You know, I mean, I work with projects and you know, you get stuck in projects and all of a sudden you get stuck behind something and things get slow. And it's just like, absolutely, and it's just, you know, I mean, the one thing she was like, see, no, we're looking to do this, and do that, and she said, what do you think? And I was like, saying, yes, but just do it quickly, you know, that was all I had, so let's just do it quick. Just don't wait. Don't have very long consultations, have short consultations, get people's views and move quick.
Or could we get some sort of assurance that as long as the money is committed by the end of the project, that it'll still be on it, that the payments will still be on it?
Well, we'll have to think about that.
That's not always possible with grants.
And
then, sorry, what happens is that some of the poorer projects get through in the last 6 months because people have to spend the money, and some of the better ones have been prodded and pulled, and people have got fed up of them by the wayside. So it's a very
That's
valid
what
point.
you want to make sure good transaction.
And
That the timing's right, don't it?
absolutely, and that everybody knows about it, and we don't have this man rush of the few at the end.
And to get them in the end.
And the funds are all separate from the buildings and the lighting and the public realm. They seem to be sort of being needed to be spent at different times, so that's important to coordinate as well.
But this is a great opportunity for Hexham. You know, there's one shooting this, you know, and it wouldn't be us as, you know, as excellent if we could sell them. This would be our own foolish fault. So let's make sure we do more as much as we can. Right, so we'll go to the vote. Everybody in favour, all those in favour? Okay, unanimous. Okay. Thank you, Steve. Right, so the next item is 13 to note the draft minutes of the meetings held in February. So we are now looking at page 21, which is planning and infrastructure, 22, 23. Next one is the town plan, page 24. Questions? Next item, page 25, planning infrastructure. 26, 27, 28, 29. That's it. Okay, correspondence.
Council have received correspondence relating to NALC news, national NALC events, planning news, Northumberland CVA support services information and job stroke trustee vacancies, Hexham Police Bottle by-election statement of persons nominated, funding e-bulletin, county council updates on storms Dudley and Eunice, temporary traffic regulation board and Nathan St Mary's chair, Hexham Community Partnership annual report and AGM, the Northumberland Local Plan Inspectors Report, information on the petition to the County Council regarding a dangerous road across the front of Pet Head, Co-op's Fair Trade Celebration in Hexham, Age UK Northumberland on scam awareness, consultation on local cycling and walking infrastructure plans, Hexham Studio Castles Improvement, Green Lane Association regarding countryside access, the West Northumberland Food Bank AGM, which will be on the 21st of March, and on sponsoring Ukrainian refugees.
Okay, so our final item is 15, have no urgent matters.
My apologies, Mayor and Town Clerk, I haven't had the opportunity to go into depth with Councillor Seskin on this. That's genuine. Could we have an update of where we are with the bunker site? Do we have any indication of when it might open as a retail town?
Yeah. So just before came to this meeting, picked up an email. So here it is. Yeah. So I got this one. So it's come in and it says, so I've been asked if I would like to open a little store on the 31st of March. So obviously that's only a matter of days away. So not long. Only a couple of weeks time. So, but you can see, obviously you can see that I think all that's happened now is just leave that road, that link road, that it is.
So it's, forgive me, it's the car park ready out, I presume Little's, the car park is ready, and how far behind is the travel lodge?
The trial is going to summer, isn't it?
Yeah.
The travel lodge is where, is it?
I think so, yes, it's late, it's not winter.
Yeah. I think the outside of the travel lodge built, I think we'll be doing all the insides and everything, but it's, certainly the little opens from the 31st of March. Yeah, so that's all good. And then the various other activities.
Just wondering when the town council was first shown the outline proposals for the whole development. I think I'm right in remembering that there were 2 food outlets to be built. And I know we've got McDonald's. Is there any news of any other coming on?
I was at the same meeting, obviously, John, there was a discussion one day about a pub that sort of started building meals and everything else, but that fell by the wayside, didn't it?
That's right. Yes, at the very same meeting, one of the members of the public raised the question, we don't want, can we not have a McDonald's please because of litter? Oh no, we won't have a McDonald's, we've got something a bit better than that. And here we are.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess so the 31st of March, so that took me by surprise.
Are we all invited to that, or is it just you yourself?
Just me.
I'll get with that before midnight.
Yes, no, just pick it up there. Just pick it up there. So there we go. So 7:45 on the 31st of March in the morning. So there we go. Okay, that's the end of the meeting. Thank you all for your attendance.